This is real Medicaid benefit cuts. I can't support that. No Republican should support that.
It does not do what we say it does with respect to deficits.
It is a government health insurance program for low-income and disabled Americans, including children.
Let's dive into a Dana Bash CNN panel discussing Trump's tax plan and, more importantly, his attempts to cut Medicaid. So if you can, start by leaving us a like on the video. It helps boost us in the algorithm. We really appreciate it. And let's get right to the discussion.
When you talk about Medicaid, it is a government health insurance program for low-income and disabled Americans, including children. It's not Medicare, which is generally for older people. Medicaid for people who are struggling. 72 million people. They pay little, if any, out of pocket for their care, as established in 1965 by Congress. Who's on it? 4 out of 10 children in this country. 1 out of 6 U.S. adults. People with a median income of $36,000 a year. So not much at all. What does it cover? Usual stuff: births, hospital stays, nursing home health care, vaccinations, prescription drugs. This is where it gets sticky when you get to the cost of it. It is paid for more by the federal government, $606 billion in funding a year, less by state governments, but it is a mixed program out there. It is not the most expensive entitlement program, about 9 to 10% of the budget. The work requirement question, interesting. 64% of the people who are getting it right now already work full or part-time.
So it is important to put this in perspective that this is literally healthcare for the most vulnerable members of society, low-income adults, children. It helps fund long-term care for seniors. Almost half of the births in our country are funded by Medicaid, where the majority of people on it work. Those who don't are sick, disabled, children, retired, or too poor to afford child care, or are in the sandwich generation where having the care for the older. They're like grandma and grandpa, their parents, and having to give to that full-time. These clowns want to take from that to give more tax breaks on $22 million homes. The sad thing is that healthcare is a human right. We shouldn't be forcing conditions upon anyone to affording care, especially not the poorest members of society.
The attempt at branding what they are trying to do to Medicaid as reform. But it's not just Democrats who aren't buying that. It's some of the most prominent Republicans. Let's listen.
We're not cutting Medicaid. Stop buying that.
And then you can look at Medicaid cuts, the Medicaid reforms, I should say.
We're not talking here about just work requirements. The House goes much further than that. This is real Medicaid benefit cuts. I can't support that. No Republican should support that.
Even Steve Bannon has said, you cannot cut Medicaid. It will hurt us with our voters. It's not just Democratic voters. So that's why you also saw the president not even put in his budget proposal the word Medicaid.
Yeah, and if you go back, there are numerous instances of President Trump saying, we will not cut Medicaid, precious Medicaid, we will keep Medicaid.
It's got to be hard to be MAGA because to be a Republican, you legitimately have to think it's morally justifiable to hold healthcare, food, shelter, and more over people's heads just in order to force them to make wealthy people wealthier at their jobs where they're not being paid equivalent to the value they produce. To be a Republican, you have to say things like, we can't afford healthcare for everybody, even though it would be cheaper than our current model. But we can do $5 trillion in tax cuts. Like, the priorities of these people are so obviously skewed to the rich that I just want to step back for a moment and reflect on the fact that they wanted to LARP so bad on the campaign trail that they were the party of the worker. Like, why not just be honest? Every rich guy making millions of dollars a year should get a break on their taxes, according to Republicans. But every American without healthcare deserves crippling debt and bankruptcy if they need to use a hospital.
Chip Roy, Republican of Texas, who has been kind of leading the charge on concerns about his fellow Republicans and this bill.
I have to now admonish my colleagues on this side of the aisle. This bill falls profoundly short. It does not do what we say it does with respect to deficits. The fact of the matter is, on the spending, what we're dealing with here on tax cuts and spending, a massive front-loaded deficit increase. And if we would reform Medicaid, we could actually get to the core of the problem. But we refuse to do it. And I'm not going to sit here and say that everything is hunky-dory when this is the budget committee. This is the budget committee. We are supposed to do something to actually result in balanced budgets. We are writing checks we cannot cash, and our children are going to pay the price. So I am a no on this bill unless serious reforms are made today, tomorrow, Sunday. We're having conversations as we speak, but something needs to change.
Now, I do want to be clear here. Chip Roy is someone who, across the board, I disagree with wholeheartedly. I think he has bad politics. He probably will end up voting yes for what is still ultimately a bad bill. It is, however, refreshing at least to hear a Republican that can sound consistent somewhat, right? Like, the most annoying conservatives are the ones who are like, we can't afford universal health care, even though it would be $500 billion cheaper than what we do now. But we can't afford $5 trillion in tax cuts that predominantly go to the wealthy, which it includes cuts to Medicaid, food stamps, medical research, renewable energy projects. By the way, completely leaves out anything to do with the child tax credit being $5,000. Remember when they were promising that because Kamala ran on a $3,600 tax credit? Yeah, well, now we get a 2-year temporary $500 increase. All the while, the programs the middle class relies on are getting slashed. We move away from green energy that sets our children up and their children for a future. The tax cuts that apply to the middle class are temporary again, and we're robbing the programs the poor literally depend on to survive. Great job, MAGA.